So today, everyone, for lecture 8, we have on our schedule, which is on Blackboard. Finally got that to work up there. Today is February 17th, and we're with our friend the wall. We'll talk about some splits. We've already talked about parts and scheduling of materials. We kind of did things a little bit in reverse. So we're going to go back and talk about stacked walls today. We're going to look at a very familiar example that I have set up for you in the lecture folder for today, and we'll get into that right now. So let's do it. So what we'll do, first things first, we'll open. Um, I don't want to save this, so I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to open up a new project, or not a new project, but on the V drive under classes, as per usual, 2020, under students and your name, right? I'm instructor, so under here, there's, oh, wrong class, people. I'm sorry. I should be in 256. So I was in the wrong class. There we go. So now, under lecture start files, lecture 8, this lecture, it's called Stacks, Wraps, and Joins. You'll probably recognize this file from the other day, and we're going to use it to create a few different things here in Revit today. We're going to get used to the idea of working with a stacked wall. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, if you remember the other day in lecture 6, this was the model we had, and we use this model to do our what? Our spaces, our rooms. But what I want to do first is turn off something I don't need, right? And let's stop the video and talk about that for a second. So just to start out, people, we can turn this color scheme off by going over to the properties browser and clicking on none and hitting apply, because we don't need it for this lesson, okay? So if you remember, what we had in our lesson were a bunch of generic walls, right? And generic walls are good to start with on any project you're working on because they allow you to develop your wall assembly later on. You don't need to know that right away. Whether the wall grows or it shrinks, later on, we can do that. We don't need to think through that thing in the beginning. So generic walls are really nice for that. But we're going to turn ours into something else. Let's look at a 3D view really quickly. And we'll go SD for shade, and you can see everything is gray. But what if I wanted to select on all the sections of my front wall, right? And I should hold down Control, right? And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to use a pre-made Revit wall. We're going to do that. Let's use exterior brick on metal stud. Let's just go ahead and do that, okay? Now, hopefully, it's going to pop up in the right place, right? Oh, wait a minute, one of our walls is a little out of whack, right? So let's go back to level 1, and let's recognize that this wall probably needs to be flipped, right? And once we go back to our 3D view, now we are showing that brick on metal stud wall. But there's some features that I want to kind of talk about when it comes to walls for us in this instance. Like, for instance, if I wanted to make this wall here look like this wall, some of you would say, well, go in here and click on it and change to the same thing. But a tool that maybe you're not aware of in walls is if you click on the wall command, on the wall itself, over here you have a feature called what? Match type properties. So you don't even have to think through in the browser. You just simply click on that, and you click on this wall, and you're supposed to have that wall. Now, what might be wrong if we go back to level 1 and I click on this wall, you see I have to flip that to the outside feature, and it still hasn't worked. Let's try that one more time. I'll click on match properties and select an object and then apply it to here. And there we go. Now we've got that working at that corner the way we want. Now, another feature that perhaps you're not all that familiar with is our wrapping feature. Let's go to level 1 just for a moment. Okay, and right here at level 1, if I come to this, I'm going to go back and change this to generic again so you can see something. All right, I think it was a generic 8, so I can just undo to that point. All right, if I click here right now and I scroll down or come down to the wall, you're seeing right now that there's no opportunity to do what? To make this feature wrap around. But that's what I want to kind of talk about in the next video that we have. And before we do anything, as per usual, what I should have done in the very beginning was done a save as. Okay, and I should have saved this in my folder, my particular folder, with my initials at the end, right? So underscore JDH. So go ahead into the model, go ahead and get that set up, and in the next video we'll move on to our next portion of the lesson. Okay? All right.